Well, let me start off. Again, I write for the Binghamton Political Buzz Examiner.com, and let me just first start off. I know down here in the Southern Tier, many of the voters may not be familiar with you. They may not know your background. Let me first ask you, who are you?
Well, I'm a Utica resident now. I've been a Utica resident since 2014. I moved from New Hartford. I was a long-term county legislator in New Hartford. What happened was I bought a piece of property in downtown Utica. I built some loft apartment spaces in it. I also own and operate a tavern. So I moved into that building while I did the rehabilitation, and then I bought a house in South Utica, where this past year I ran for county legislator. And I lost by 94 votes to a 16-year incumbent. I own an insurance agency called Partners Trust Insurance Agency. My office is located in North Utica. As my record as a former county legislator, I was very fiscally conservative in everything that I tried to accomplish, from reducing the sales tax to cutting our property tax. I voted against the Oneida Indian Nation agreement because I thought that it was a very rushed agreement that didn't really make much sense. So I've got a record of trying to be transparent in any decisions that I make, and anything that I'm involved in. I think transparency, especially in government, is the most important aspect of public service. So, other than that, I'm 32 years old, that's about.
Okay.
That's it in a nutshell.
No, that's a great wrap up there. It's a good intro for the bio. Let me ask you about this. You mentioned a little bit of your political background, and I see, am I correct, you've run twice for the State Assembly for the 115th District as well. Is that correct?
I did, yes. I ran in 2004 and 2006. I was 21 years old when I ran in 2004, and then, of course, 23 years old when I ran in 2006. A very, very Republican district I ran in. It was a 2-to-1 Republican district, which then later actually became Claudia Tenney's district after Dave Townsend retired. But, I throwing my hat in that ring. A lot of people would say I did okay. I garnered, 33 or 34% of the vote. For being 21 years old, it wasn't too bad of an endeavor. What was I going to mention about that race or that district? I had been endorsed by the New York League of Conservational Voters. I had been endorsed at the time by Planned Parenthood of New York when I ran for State Assembly. I had been endorsed by the Mohawk Valley Chamber of Commerce. I was the only non-incumbent endorsed, and that was because of at the time, my policies and standards that I had set forth as far as being an advocate for small businesses, because I've always been a small business owner. I've owned different businesses, that is.
Right.
So, yeah, it was certainly a tough race, but it was a great experience. I met a lot of great people, and I had a primary in 2006 for the State Assembly against a guy named Mike Bonsella, and I beat him for the Democratic primary, or the Democratic nomination, in 2006.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, the endorsements that you mentioned were from 2006, not current.
Which endorsements? Oh, yeah, right. Those were from 2006, yes.
Have you been endorsed by anyone now?
At this point, not yet, only because, I think everyone was waiting for the landscape to kind of settle out, waiting to see if anybody else was going to run. I am scheduled for next week to be screening with all of the Democratic committees throughout the district. I've met with several elected officials. I've been in contact with people, common council people, Democratic common council people in the city of Binghamton. I've been in contact with the mayor of Cortland. I've been in contact with just people, different community people throughout the district. So we're working towards that. We're working towards the endorsements, and hopefully we'll have those next week. As you're probably aware, that the petitioning starts, the beginning of March. So
March 8th.
we've got to get these endorsements wrapped up.
Yeah, that's going to start on March 8th, so I know everyone's very interested.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, there's a couple of other things that are still floating around, as you mentioned. One of the things in the landscape on the Democratic side is that there's still rumors of another Democrat, possibly two, entering into the race. Do you have any concerns about that? Does that matter?
Well, I think obviously one of my biggest concerns would be that people would be pushing these individuals to run rather than these individuals actually wanting to run. And, that concerns me because I think people should have it in their mindset, in their heart, to really want to undertake something as large as running for Congress. So they should really be driving their own initiative and not being pushed by outside influences.
Okay, I understand. Let me ask you, separate of that then, you've heard about the Republican race. There's 3 declared candidates at this time. Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney, which you mentioned before. There is George Phillips, Aaron Price, and there's a rumor of a 4th individual, I won't mention him because he's not declared at this point, that may be getting into the race. Do you know Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney? She's from your area.
I do, yeah. Claudia and I have had similar views on certain things. We shared, a concern for the Oneida Indian Nation and, the settlement agreement with the state of New York. So I do know Claudia. I don't have any issues with Claudia. There's certainly, we differ somewhat in our ideology. Obviously, I'm more of a progressive Democrat that leans a little bit more moderate. That's more because of my fiscally conservative record and my fiscally conservative views. Not so much socially. I'm more of a social progressive. Whereas she's a little bit more conservative. She's more of a social conservative, as well as perhaps a fiscally conservative, candidate. So we differ, somewhat in our ideology, but I don't really have any personal issues with Claudia. Claudia is not part of an establishment. She's not part of an establishment in our local politics where, it's business as usual. So, again, really what voters should be looking at is the difference in our ideology and our ideas rather than, personally attacking one another when it's not really necessary.
No, I can understand that. And actually, you bring me to a couple of key factors for any race, which is your political platform. What are you looking to do? What's your reason for running?
Well, so I've got a couple of main items that are driving my candidacy or driving home point.
It seems I lost Mr. Gordon for a moment. He was driving at the time of the interview, so he may have hit a dead zone. As soon as he is able to get to a better area, we're going to pick up this conversation and continue with the interview. And so we'll pick that up in a moment.